Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's episode of Intuitive Angling. And man, I really appreciate you guys swinging by the channel and spending some of your day with me. And today, guys, I'm going to show you about the big fish hop. This is a technique about fishing a jig, or you can actually use it anytime you're pitching and flipping with some type of a bottom lure that generates strikes from larger bass. So we're going to get into that in today's video. Also, guys, before we get started, just wanted to thank everybody that's taken time to hit that subscribe button here at Intuitive Angling recently. Really appreciate that. And if you haven't had a chance, that's a good way to help the channel out, free and easy, just to hit that subscribe button. And also, guys, I will link the bait that I'm going to be talking about a lot today. Here's my Blaukat throwback jig from Cumberland Pro Lures. I'll put this in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description. You can get them at Tackle Warehouse. They got 6 different colors, 3 different sizes. This is the one I'll be talking about today, the black and chartreuse model, but I'll put the link in the description if you guys like to get you some of those good Blaukat throwback jigs. Living rubber skirt, hand tied, just impeccable quality. You guys will love these things. Okay, now the big fish hop, guys, this is nothing that I invented. This is an invention that my jig mentor, Terry Thomas, taught me 40 years ago. You guys, a lot of you guys that are regulars on the channel, you hear me talking about Terry Thomas. Terry Thomas is one of those guys that he would be like Kevin Van Dam if he wanted to. He just didn't want to travel. He dominated here regionally and locally forever here in Missouri. He knew how to win, knows how to win. That's what he focuses on, is catching big fish and winning tournaments. And one of the things that Terry taught me, I was fortunate enough to learn from him and fish some tournaments with him, is about the big fish hop using a jig in terms of what it takes to generate a strike. So I'm going to show you guys what that is. But one of the things I learned from Terry, as far as approaching bass fishing and tournament fishing specifically, is he didn't care about anything except what the big fish wanted. And he always referred to that as like, the big fish want that. This is what the big fish want. We got to figure out what the big fish want. And a lot of times that could be in terms of a lure selection, whether it be a moving bait or a slow bait, profile of the lure, color of the lure, type of structure the fish are on. But that was always in his mind, is what does it take to generate strikes from big fish? And Terry taught me how to flip. The first time I ever fished with him, was a flipping tournament down at Grand Lake, and we won the tournament with 28 pounds. He caught everything. I just sit there and watched, but I learned so much about this particular big fish hop. Now, anyway, the big fish hop, I do it with a jig. You can do it with a soft plastic or whatever, but one of the things that I like to do it with is just a full-size jig, like my throwback jig here with a Zoom Big Salty chunk on it. Big fish bait before the big fish jig hop. Now, most people struggle with jig fishing for a large degree, because this is how a lot of people I see that work a jig fish it. They'll cast it out there, let it hit the bottom, and they'll just sort of work it along like that, just sort of hop it along, or they'll pitch it and flip it. They'll pitch it and flip it in there, let it go to the bottom and just hop it like that a little bit. But the big fish hop is different, and this is what it looks like. Say for example, I pitch that jig in there, and there's a bush or lay down tree or whatever, pitch that jig in there, let that jig fall on the slack line, and when that jig hits the bottom, you snap it like that off the bottom. Snap it off the bottom hard like that, let it fall back down, snap it again. And you keep this rhythm. It's like boom, boom. And that's usually how I do it. I go boom, I'll twitch it a couple times, boom, just like that. So instead of like the jig being on the bottom like this, and a lot of people just sort of hop it like that, scoot it along the bottom, hop it. This big fish hop is the jig hits the bottom and it snaps up off the bottom like that. And then a lot of times I'll snap it a couple times and it'll just go down like that. And then you snap it apart again like that. Now, what happens is it's important for you to allow that bait to hit the bottom and stay there for just a second. Like I'll let it hit the bottom. I'll maybe count to 2 or 3 and then snap it off the bottom. And when that jig hits the bottom, it's like bass know it's there, and it's like they hear it hitting the rock or the gravel on the bottom like that. They see it there. They swim over real quick to look at it, what it is. They're looking at it almost like a crawdad, and then all of a sudden this thing takes off like that, and they have to act. They have no time to analyze or think. It's like, should I go for it or not? You pop it off the bottom like that, it creates a reaction strike, and this is especially appealing to the big fish. The big fish, when they get close to a lure like this and you hop it hard off the bottom, that is what generates that primal instinct into a fish. It's like, I got to get this thing. If I don't get this thing now, this meal is going to get away from me, and that's what is Terry calls the big fish hop. Now you can do this on any type of structure that you're fishing. Flooded bushes or flooded cover is my favorite type of deal, but I've seen Terry do it on just pitching it to chunk rock banks and bluff banks or lay down trees or docks, just whatever you have. But it's something that I always try. And it's like anything else. It's like you can't go out every single time and expect the same thing to work. So if I get in a situation where I'm getting some bites in a jig just by working it traditionally, I don't fish it. I don't use the big fish hop all the time. A lot of times I'm just shaking it like that and working it. But if I get into a situation where I know they're biting a jig, that is when I try the big fish hop, most every single time. And another thing about it is the color seemed to be really critical. Guys, this is my favorite color to do it with. This is the black and chartreuse Blaukat throwback jig with a blue zoom big salty chunk on it. Sometimes I'll use a black or a green, but the blue is the one. Now, I think one of the reasons that this color works so good in correlation with the hopping hard is the chartreuse is an aggressive color. So there's something about the chartreuse flash of it, hopping off like that. The whole system together is what seems to generate the strike with it. But I just wanted to share that with you guys. It's something to file away in your memory bank. If next time you're fishing a jig or something, try this thing. Most of the time it's going to be better if that water, depth is less than 5 foot. And another thing that you'll find about the big fish hop is it tends to work a little bit better if you have a little bit better clarity. So this isn't something that I do a lot if the water's really dirty. So if I have water visibility of under a foot, I don't really do that a lot of times because I'm not fishing that deep. But if you're fishing cleaner water, like water visibility of 2 to 4 foot, that is when it's really critical, because the hop and the trajectory coming up fast like that, they catch that visually. And so sometimes the cleaner water will help a little bit. I remember we did really good, fishing jigs down at Bull Shoals Lake a lot. Bull Shoals is super clear lake. It's like, 6, 8, 10 foot clarity. And that's one of the techniques that he used for that. So anyway, just another little deal, file it away, try it sometime. Hope it helps you guys catch some good ones, and we'll talk later.